Hello, are we live? Are we live?
And we are live. We are live. Aloha, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Got some good news for all of you right now. Here we go, Mel. Here we go. I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it. Can I show it? How's
Oh,
that?
yeah.
You folks get a hold of that?
HT, HTA and the Attorney General just reported that hotel guests under quarantine will not be issued keys for their 14-day quarantine and will not be allowed to rent cars. Hmm. Son of a
So,
gun.
ladies and gentlemen who have been joining us over the weeks, especially last night when we had a talk with Senators De La Cruz, Kim, and Favela, I guess it came through fruition, right, brother? It came through.
Well, like I said last night, first of all, thanks for joining us tonight again on this beautiful Thursday night. We do have Chip Bahouth. He's in the waiting room right now. We're gonna be bringing him on real quick, but wanted to just say thank you guys. You see that whole thing with the room key. Remember, I said last night, I wish that was my idea, but one of you, and I can't remember who, one of you, a few of you submitted that in a post, and I just thought it was brilliant. And Charlie and I has been sharing that with our connections at the state capitol. But it wasn't our idea; it was your idea, and it was
Yep.
your idea that went viral. It was your
Yep.
idea that we talked about it last night in front of the people that have our voices, that are our voices. And
Yep.
in less than 24 hours, they got the attorney general to agree that as you can see, I'm pretty freaking stoked, because
Yep.
we've been doing this now, Charlie, for probably 5 weeks or whatever it
Right.
is, and it's just a good feeling, man. So
folks, we're doing this kind of stuff because it's for you. We were getting frustrated like all of you, not getting the right information. And all we done is we took our previous careers, we combined it as two investigators, and we just combined our skills and we just went out and just kept on digging and digging and digging. And truthfully, my wife was getting upset after a while. She said, "Let it go, let it go." But the most important thing for me was, but honey, it's about the community, and it's not only Kauai, it's the community. Oahu, Maui, Big Island, Molokai, Lanai, you know, and to our friends elsewhere who love Hawaii, who cherish the love that we have for all of our visitors as well. They feel what we feel. So it's all about the vested interest that Mel, you and I have for our people. I mean, it doesn't matter what race you are, Hawaiian, Portuguese, Japanese, African American, it doesn't matter. It's your love for the islands and it's our love for you. And that's the reason why we do what we do. That's the reason why we do what we do.
and Senator Kochi is on. I want to personally thank Senator Kochi. He has been the conduit for us since we started. He has been our earpiece, our mouthpiece. Senator Kochi, thank you very much. I think a lot of this would not have been able to happen without Senator Kochi. So thank you very much. With that, oh, by the way, how's the shirt?
Nice.
No longer for sale. No longer for sale because the new ones has just come in.
Don't be a what? Don't be a doodoo boy. Yes, it's for sale. Don't be a doodoo boy. Get your
And
shirts. Get your shirts.
that's it. That's the back of the shirt.
Yeah,
And
that's
on the
the
bottom, as you can see, thank you, Mayor Kawakami, because it was Mayor Kawakami that came up with or reminded us of the Doodle Boy.
yep.
So anyway, these shirts are available from tonight. It is $15 because it's double-sided, and we're going to raise a ton of money for Hawaii Community Foundation. Again, Kirk has donated the shirts. And don't forget, share this. Share this right now. Hit the share button, start a watch party, and you send the orders to my messenger, not on the post. Put them on the messenger. Let me know your sizes.
Hey,
We'll
bro.
talk about it in a little bit, but I got to get Chip in here because he's a
Yeah, you
hotel
gotta
GM.
let them know too now. It's a Doodle Boy shirt. It's not the Dairy Queen ice cream, okay? It's not one ice cream in the middle. It's a doodle. Okay, so don't forget that.
All right. And there's Mr. Bahouth. He got the quarantine look. Chip, you got to unmute yourself, Chip. Unmute. Yeah, you got to find that little microphone button. We'll put up the shirt again in a little bit, but there.
Got it.
There you go.
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Chip. Chip,
Right on.
ladies and gentlemen, Chip Bahouth, GM of the Sheraton Kauai Resort out there in Poipu. He's also one of our police commissioners. So this is a unique guy. He's a hotel GM, but he's also very well versed in law enforcement, being on the police commission. This guy's a great friend of Charlie and mine for a long time.
Yep.
And we're just happy and honored to have you on the show. And look, they're already asking. You can't see the comments, Chip. We can, so we'll be tossing out the comments.
Okay.
But one guy's asking. One guy's asking, "How's Chip and his beard?" LOL.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you got one going too, Mel. And you know, Charlie, you got a little stubble there. So.
Yeah, that's a Chinese side of me. That's a Chinese. I gotta grow hair.
Well,
Wow.
Chip, thank you very much for joining us. I know some tough times for you and your colleagues out there in the hotel industry. And we just wanted to, we've been talking mostly with legislators, decision makers, that's got to get us through this tough times. And then Charlie recommended, said, hey, let's get Chip, let's get someone from the hotel industry, and damn good idea. So we had Mufi on. He talked about Aloha later, and he talked about what the visitor industry is kind of doing. But we want a local boy, local GM, that can share your experience of COVID-19. And I'm going to turn this right over to you, Chip, and then just share with us from the beginning. What were you doing when you found out that, this might get bad, and I got to lay off some people, and share with us what you went through and how difficult it was, and how difficult it is, and really what is the future, what does it look like? So
Yeah,
the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, obviously, I've been in the business for 40 years. So I have seen, from 9/11, SARS, the downturns of the economy, and so forth. I have never seen anything as impactful as what we're going through right now. And the impact of what's happening today will affect the hospitality industry worldwide. It'll affect travel. It will affect tourism. It is something that is going to redefine people's experiences. And so as we went into this and this began to occur, obviously the first thing that came to our minds was the health and welfare and the safety of our people that work here, as well as those that were here. And so as it began to take effect and people began to, venture back home and people began to cancel reservations, then decisions had to be made on what the business was going to look like going forward and what we were going to do about, making the right decisions based on all of the, everything that you see or saw had to do with the media. Our information came from the media, and you got different sound bites of different things that were going on. And you kind of had to react to that in the best fashion as possible. You have owners that had just spent over $100 million renovating the hotel.
Wow.
And we're just at the finish line. And so it was impactful in trying to understand what we were going to do going forward. And we came to the decision that the best thing to do was to close the hotel. And I had somebody in the hotel that we thought had the virus. And we were, and all the protocols as it relates to having somebody in the hotel and what that was, were not all firmly established as of yet. And so I had to call that guest on the phone and speak to him and say, you need to stay in your room. I'm going to get some stuff prepared for you. I'm going to bring it up. We'll put it in front of the room. We'll knock on the door. We'll walk away. And we did that and I actually had to call to get that person into a hospital to get them tested. And they came back, they got it. They came back and we waited like a week before we got the results. And thank God they didn't have it. They didn't. And so she actually had pneumonia and she recovered and she was the last person to leave the hotel. And then we just closed everything up. We buttoned it up. We've kept a group of people on to maintain the facility. We're going through and we've cleaned all our kitchens. We're doing preventative maintenance throughout the hotel, and we're keeping a staff on to try to make the hotel better for when we get to that point of reopening. But we don't even know when that is yet. We have no idea. As I sit here today, I cannot define when that's going to be.
Well, Chip, let me ask you something. With this, we said this on many of our shows that there's a new normalcy. Things will not be the same how it was pre-pandemic. When we get to the post phase, there's going to be a new normalcy. What do you see that as far as because the reason why I'm prefacing this now is that I know that when you have people check out, there's this lapse, right? You have checkouts, then you have check-ins. But now it's probably going to have to be a little bit more difficult because you're going to have to prepare more for disinfecting the room just to be on the safe side. What are you looking at as all those extra steps now that you're probably going to have to take that, and it's more extensive than when it was before? What's your take on that now?
Well, as a large company that we are, we have a group of people in our corporate offices that are looking at that from the time the person arrives at the front door to the time they leave the hotel, and we clean the room and we flip the room. And so protocols are being developed right now on what the new norm will be, and those protocols will have to be retrained, and all of our associates will be retrained on the new protocols, and new things will go into play. So as an example, we got the first rendition of it, and they're still kind of going through it. But as an example, there'd be no valet service anymore. So when a guest arrives at the property, you wouldn't get into their car and valet their car anymore, because you're putting that potential employee in a very difficult situation. So those different things, every little aspect's being looked at. There's the first rendition was 57 pages long.
Wow.
And Charlie, the big thing is it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So the cost of doing business is going up. It's not going backwards.
So what we have now with this quarantine, is it your owner's position and you that you might as well do it right, but stay closed until such time the quarantine is lifted? Is that what you folks are looking at right now?
Well, the old business motto, cash is king, right? Cash is king, and you've only got so much cash. And so if you open up the business too early and you don't rebound in revenues and it doesn't take back off and start going, then you're just paying out more cash and you're going to be out of business. Okay. Right? So I feel really sorry for the guys that are the small businesses, because by them making a decision to open up now, if you're, a restaurant here in Kukui'ula, and the volume doesn't come back right away, you're still got to pay your employees. You're still got to pay your electric bill. You're still going to have to pay your rent. Your cash is going to be gone, and you're going to be in big trouble. So we're looking at how much cash we got and how long we think that could last us, and what we think the momentum of the market's going to be. Anybody that comes here to Hawaii, what do they have to do? They got to ride. No, but they got to ride a fossil fuel.
Right.
You got to ride on an airplane. So we live and die by what the airline prices are going to be and how much lift they're going to put into the market. If we had 30, if we did, we used to, our statistics say that there were 30,000 people that arrived in Hawaii on an average daily basis. If 15,000 people arrive on a daily basis and everybody was running 100% at 30,000, everybody's going to be running 50% occupancy. Nobody's going to be able to survive at that rate, right? I did a quick analysis before this call, but if you take us, the Hyatt, and the Marriott, you got about 1,500 rooms. We generate almost $1 million a day in hospitality revenue. Whether the guy goes to take a catamaran ride, he pays his room rate in the hotel, he buys a drink at the bar. That's $30 million a month. And then you take the trickle down effect of half of that goes to payroll.
Right.
And now the numbers become astronomical of what the impact of this could be.
Mm-hmm.
And we're only scratching the surface right now.
Okay.
So Chip, I know you talked about visitors started to cancel reservations and you guys started to have to think about what the heck we're going to do next.
Yep.
But there came a point that you had to start laying off employees. So how many employees do you have at the Sheraton?
We have about 300 names on the payroll, of which about 250 are full-time when you take the full-time, part-time, put it all together.
And at some point you had to lay all these people off.
Yes.
Or majority of them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
there's I would say there's probably 20, 22, 25 people working, security, engineering,
right.
That kind of stuff.
And so forth.
Yeah.
And your property is comprised of hotel and timeshare.
Yes.
Now, how has this affected the timeshare industry? I guess I'll just call it the timeshare industry throughout the island. Have you seen a decrease or decline in the timeshare owners coming to Kauai?
There are some owners that own months or multiple of weeks, so they could come into their unit and quarantine in their unit. Our timeshare isn't set up that way, but other timeshares are. They're deeded timeshares, and then there's club or points timeshare where you buy into a club and you have so many points, and then you can redeem them at properties that participate in the program. That's what we are. So as some of the other properties are, these people are still maybe becoming and going into the units and quarantining for 14 days and staying for 2 months or whatever the case may be. I will say this about the timeshare. That industry or that occupancy in those units, it's probably going to bounce back quicker than a hotel. Because I bought it, I own it, I'm paying for it. I better go use it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think overall is it the occupancy of timeshare around the island is probably down, I would guess.
Oh, it's way down. It's if there's 100 rooms in a timeshare, there might be 3 occupied.
I see.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like
I know. I went by Timbers, which is where I was a night auditor, and they had 2 people in the property. One was just leaving. When did I go there? Yesterday or the day before. So they're empty.
Yeah.
And those are owners. These guys are actual owners.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's empty. That owners ain't coming, and nobody wants to come here to quarantine.
Yeah.
To
your point though, Mel, they all timeshare people all consider themselves owners. Whether I own a week or I own the home condo, I'm an owner.
Right. And they are.
They are. I love them. They spend money.
Now, your revenue, you talked about the loss of revenue. just on your property, and I'm not sure if you're at liberty to answer this question or not. On a regular year, you know, a non-COVID, non-Iniki year, what kind of revenue do you think gets funneled into the local community when you're running your hotel on a normal year?
It's a great question.
I'm talking about.
I'll tell you what it is. It's probably about 80%. 70 to 80% goes back into the local economy. So my gross margin, if my gross profitability is somewhere, you know, around 10, 20%, the other 80% got spent with KIUC, employees, health and welfare benefits, food, yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, the attractions. I mean, I would assume it's a lot of money.
Oh, it's big.
Like a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Like I said, between the three properties, it's got to be 30 million a month.
Wow. Okay. We did have a question. I think you kind of answered it earlier on, and I'm not sure if this person maybe have come on late, but when do you expect tourism to return? That's a tough one.
You know, it changes every day. And I think the people that call the shots aren't us in the industry. It's more where government is going to take this.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't think, you know, it depends on what they decide to do.
Yeah, I think the quarantine is probably the biggest obstacle right now, I would guess. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chip, because I am not an expert in this, but you know, we've gotten a lot of information over the last couple of months. But I would bet for the visitor industry, what I call the hospitality industry, the quarantine is probably the biggest block right now, right?
Oh yeah, by far.
Because
When you think, yeah, I mean, like I said, it isn't so much what somebody spends in the hotel for the room. It's where they go to eat, the cruise, all the other things they do. So there's the trickle down effect of a visitor being in the islands, the hospitality industry, and what that generates through different areas. I mean, Charlie, you see guys up at Kalaheo Steak and Ribs that, you know, are visitors that they're not eating in the hotel or so forth, but they're in Hawaii and they're having a great time. They come to see you guys and all of that. And that's what they're spending money. And I don't think we realize what the trickle down effect is of the visitor coming to the islands. And I don't think there's anything that's going to replace it right away.
Well, you know, like I always said on a couple of our shows already, and that is, I know years ago when they were trying to legalize gaming in Hawaii, and the first option they had was to have a soft opening with a shipboard gaming. Mm-hmm. Well, that sunk like a ton of bricks, because you know the question was, if you only allow, say, 2,000 passengers on that boat and each of them bought $1, as an example, that means you only got $2,000 to play with. So how many times it's played, at the end of the night, somebody's going to walk away with a pot. That's it. There's no new infusion of cash. And I think what you're saying about is trickling. You got to be able to have that ability. But one thing that, you know, what this show has done is, there's been a lot of concern is, while we need that, it's that safety component too. So it's like saying, okay, you get a convention coming in from New York City. You got hit the hardest, but I'm sure if they can travel, they must be safe. I have to believe that. Yeah. But you know, because we've seen how the islands have been affected because we've been isolated, and it came from the outside in, how easy for that to happen. Everybody now is on the defense and say, hey, you know, okay, we contain it fine, but can we contain it should it get beyond the parameters that we have already been dealing with? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, you know, the virus didn't begin in New York City, and it didn't begin in Washington either. It came into the environment. And that is the same thing that would happen here in Hawaii. It would come into the environment one way or the other. And I don't think there's anything that's out there that's ever going to make it foolproof or full safe. It's a double-edged sword. You want the virus to kill you, or do you want the economy to kill you?
Right.
Right. So it's finding the balance on that edge so that you don't cut yourself either way. And so I don't have the answer to that, Charlie. But the longer this thing goes out, we're going to die a different death.
Yeah.
And I think that goes for industries even outside of the visit industry, or
Yeah.
you know, I think a lot of people are businesses are shutting down, and it's not really because of some of them are not even related to the visitor. Licky Licky Drive-In.
Yeah.
Licky Licky Drive-In, I would guess probably 80% of their clientele are local people.
Yeah.
From what I see anyway, and you know, we spent a lot of time in Licky Licky. That wasn't affected because of the tourist industry. That was affected because the local people weren't allowed to go into the restaurant to eat, and they weren't set up for takeout. So 70 plus years down the drain. So I think a lot of people are wanting this thing to move forward, but it's difficult because unlike the mainland where people can drive, you know, not too many places on the mainland are a destination like Hawaii. And we have done such a good job. We have become the safest destination spot in the world. That's just what happened. That's just, you know, that's what happens when you do your job well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the numbers are rising on the mainland. The numbers of cases are rising, even as states are slowly opening up, cases are rising. And I think that's what brings the fear to the people here, is that if we open up too soon, then we are going to get hit with a second wave, a third wave, a fourth wave. And man, I tell you, you're right. It's a double-edged sword. You know, it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And
Right.
and no one, there's no formula. It's never happened before. There's
Right.
no way you can predict what the heck is going on. I kind of wanted to go back now. Okay, so your people all get laid off. Your hotels, or your hotel is basically closed. And Charlie was mentioning to me earlier that you guys had all this food. You had all this stuff that you had in your hotel that you had no one to buy. There was no customers and no employees to feed. What did you guys do with all that food?
You know, we're very fortunate that our executive chef here used to work in Colorado, and they have 2 seasons, or I guess 3 seasons in Colorado. The ski season, and they got this thing called the mud season, when after all the snow melts, it's all muddy and nobody goes there. And then there's the summer where everybody goes and then they go ski again. So after the snow season, and they begin to shut down their properties in Aspen or Vail or wherever these places are, they take all of their perishable stuff, all of their food, and they cut it up and they cook it and they freeze it. So the chef said, as we were winding down, he says, "Hey, I got 20 bags of onions here, and I got, 50 bags of carrots or whatever it is." So we just brought the staff in. We started cutting this stuff up, cooking it, cryovacuuming it, and freezing it, right? And then we took all the stuff that was in production and we cooked it all off and we froze it. So then after we were closed on the 28th, which was our official close date, we got together and said, "Hey, we got to, we know that the last check that we were going to deliver to our associates was going to be the day before, I think it was the week before Good Friday." So we said, let's figure out a way to put something together, feed all of our associates on Good Friday. So our gang went out, they figured out a messaging system with through texting, and we have everybody's phone number. We sent a message out to them saying, between 10 and 12, come pick up food. You make a reservation by doing this. We had 700 people show up for food, our associates and their families. And we did a drive-through through the Port Cachere. So we learned the first week, you got to have one container. We did 3 different containers. We had the dessert in one container. We had the mac and cheese in one container. We had the beef stew in another container. Oh, so it was a mess. And so the second week we did it a different way and we got better. And we did a bento box with fried chicken and coconut shrimp and edamame and so forth. We learned on that one, you cannot use the fryer all day long. So that we learned on that one. So then the third one we did Kahlua pig. And we did this every Friday. And 750 people show up. And then after we did the 750, I started seeing some of the stuff that was happening with other people. And I said, you know what? We're not going to have, the charity walk ain't happening. And I had already collected through Table 53 and through the different things that we do a bunch of money. So I said, let's open the safe up. Let's take that money. Let's go down to the store and let's buy enough food to feed 2,000 people. And
Right.
so for May Day, we went down, we bought the food for 2,000. I got a bunch of volunteers to come in and help. And we served 2,000 people for May Day.
Wow.
And I'm going to do it again
Right on,
Well,
Chip.
you know,
So
good
we
job.
believe we fed over 5,000 people since we started.
Yeah, Mufi was on and he was sharing, some of the good things that the industry was doing. And we see a lot of it. You see it on TV. A lot of the stuff goes unnoticed, unrecognized, unappreciated. And understand that. But, those are the kinds of stories. That's what we kind of want to bring out to the people, because when you look at the comments, a lot of the people, they're directing their frustration and their anger and their anxiety to the industry or to a specific hotel and in reality, you guys you're an industry, you employ a lot of people, you provide for a lot of families. And I know this because I worked in that industry full time. A lot of people don't know this, but I was full time for almost 10 years. So I saw the different types of families that work in that industry. And to do something like that, are you the chair of the charity walk as well?
No, Jacob and Matt from the Hyatt, I chaired it last year. And we did
raised some crazy amount of money
Yeah.
last year, didn't you? Like,
Yeah.
how much? It was crazy.
I almost beat Honolulu. We were like $460 or $480,000.
Yeah, I remember being
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
function and see you guys were so close to like Honolulu.
Yeah.
Little old Kauai. So, the industry is very, very generous, I should say. And the employees, if you go to a lot of the functions in the community, whether it's the walkathons or you'll see the vision industry come out in force. And
Yeah.
Sheraton has always been a huge supporter of community events. And I would guess that's because you probably make them do it. You probably not make them, but strongly encourage them to.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a funny story. My dad was a general manager of this hotel when the first hurricane hit. The first hurricane, right? Hurricane Eva. And the hotel got destroyed, during that time. But this was the hotel that did the most for the community after that first hurricane had happened. And I wasn't here on the island. I was on the mainland working already. And I just always remember those stories my dad told me and the pictures. We got employees that were here during that time period, Nick Nacion and so forth. And so when I came here, I fell in love with Kauai and everything that it was. I'd spent some time here when I was in high school, but I just felt, that we need to do something, and this is the right thing to do. I mean, if you look at Table 53, we've given away $350,000 to local charities through that one table, people eating dinner. I don't think anybody's done that on the island.
Can you share with that? I mean, I think a lot of people do know what that is, but what is Table 53?
Table 53 is a table in the dining room, and every month we pick a local charity on Kauai, and the money has to stay on Kauai. So it's a local charity on Kauai. They fill out an application. We go through the application process, and then we pick out the charity for the month. Everybody that dines at table 53, the proceeds from their dinner go to the charity that night. So at the end of the month, I give them the check for all the money that was raised at table 53. And then I have a bungalow out by the pool that says, put the fun in, what's the slogan? Put the fun in fundraising. And if you rent this bungalow for $150, I will give that money to the charity for the month. So I'm writing checks $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month to local charities every month.
Wow.
See, a lot of people don't know that. They're dropping a lot of hearts on the comments. Marlise Maliki just posted it. She was working there when your dad was the general manager.
Oh, is that right?
How's that? Unbelievable. I see Tina Yamaki is on here too. She's going to be our guest next week as well.
Oh, I've known Tina. She's
anyway,
a great person. Good gal.
Yeah, she's actually on here. She's on here tonight. Now, Chip, this is what came out today, posted today. Today, obviously, we had the Senate committee hearing, the COVID hearing, and they had HTA, they had the transportation, they had the Attorney General. They had all these people throughout the day. Those guys worked all day today. And interestingly, we had them on the show last night. We had 3 of those senators on our show last night. But they made an announcement afternoon that the HTA and the Attorney General has announced that, and we talked about this, Chip, prior.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this is what happened today. But anyway, they made the announcement that we already knew about the rental cars, no rental cars during the quarantine period. But they also announced that hotels are not to be issuing room keys for the duration of the quarantine. Did you hear about that already?
Yeah, I got right after you and I spoke. I got the memo.
Okay,
I got the email on it.
Yeah, we were just talking about Chip and I spoke this afternoon, and I didn't know it had come out. I must have missed that part of the briefing. I had to go to the doctor today, and I must have missed it. But we were just talking about this last night. That suggestion had come from one of our viewers.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so brilliant. But how do you see that happening once you reopen? Well, I don't know if you'll even reopen before the quarantine is lifted. What's the status of that? How does that all work, Chip?
Well, we've turned off the reservation system, right? So there's future reservations that are on the books already. So somebody that were to arrive on May 31st, as an example, or whatever the date may be, has to go into quarantine for 14 days. The guy who arrives on June 1st doesn't. So I don't give the guy on the 31st his room key, and the guy on the 1st gets his room key. So that's kind of how it's going to go, I would assume. But I don't see why you would open up your hotel if there's a 14-day quarantine, because nobody's going to stay. And even if you opened up let's say they took the quarantine off on June 1st. We're not going to go from 1 to 100 the next day. So you check in on the 1st and you don't have to quarantine anymore. We're slowly going to build up the occupancy, but I'm not worried about somebody coming in before then, because frankly, there's nobody here to check them in. I'd have to come down from my house and figure out how to turn the computer on and issue a key, because there's nobody here to do that.
I'm gonna ask a $1 million question, because it's not often we get the hotel guy on the show. Have you heard from your sources whether or not this quarantine is going to be lifted after May 31st?
I haven't heard from my sources. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to extend. I think they're going to take the inner island quarantine off, and then they're going to take the other one. That's what you and I talked about earlier. I think that's the route they're going to go.
Well, maybe after we hung up, your source that told you about the room key maybe have told you. I know the Lieutenant Governor is saying probably mid-June through early July is what the Lieutenant Governor is kind of saying, but no one really knows.
I'm anticipating for first safety and fairness for all. I think they're going to lift, like you said, the inter-island is going to be the first to be lifted, because unless something unless something drastically happens in Honolulu that would throw a kink in the whole plans to prevent inter-island traveling from happening, I think it will go through. I'm very confident that it will go through.
Yeah,
but again, everything is dependent on if we see any signs of the virus coming from the outside in and being able to catch it immediately. Because the thing that still is pressing, and they've stayed away from it, Chip. I don't know how many times you watched our show. We always ask about the contact tracing. The tracing, it's so important. We've heard so many. I mean, even the senators, like today, not today, but on several of their committee meetings with the Department of Health, trying to corner the Department of Health and saying, hey, if we know where it's at, we have a better chance at going after it. Why don't we do more testing? And why don't we bring on more contact trace investigators? And it's sad in a way. I don't know if you saw, but the head of the COVID response, which is Major General Hara, he said he couldn't get cooperation from the people that's supposed to be listening to him. So he had to run to the governor to have the governor order them to follow his orders. That is crazy. That is crazy, crazy, crazy at the highest level. So, but I think by the end of this month, the local quarantine will be lifted already. The travel.
Well, it goes back to what, I think you folks were saying earlier. We've done a good job within the state. So we know we as a community in the state are in good shape, yeah?
Yeah.
So to travel inter-island, and I think traveling inter-island will help kickstart the industry a little bit, kickstart some of the small businesses and so forth, the Hamura Simons and, people come over from Honolulu, I got to go Hamura Simon and stuff like that. It's going to kickstart some of that. And I think that's good. And I don't think we should rush into any of this whatsoever. Staying closed for, if you said it was June 15th or July 15th, in my book, it's not the end of the world. I mean, eventually we will come back. It's just the concern. My concern isn't so much for us as a big business. I'm more concerned about mom and pops.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm concerned about the Hamura Simons and those kinds of places.
Well, I tell you, and it's a cliche, but it's, our future depends on us.
Right.
The mayor lifted the curfew. People are flying out at night again, speeding up and down the roads.
Yeah.
That little break, they're going to take advantage. You open up the governor opens up all these non-essential businesses, and all of a sudden people forget about the importance to stay at home. They're calling it safer at home now. A lot of people are out. You go on the road, you see it. I had to go to work today, actually, to the office. There's a lot of cars on the road, a whole lot more than we had a week ago. If we don't take this serious and we don't continue to practice the safe rules, the safety rules, then our numbers will increase. And if we start deciding to move around, I posted that article from that construction worker, that 45-year-old construction worker on Oahu. No prior health issues. He was down, his heart stopped twice. He was on a ventilator. He was in ICU for 6 weeks. He came through, but his advice was, hey, stay home. It's not worth it. But I see as we start loosening things up, it's just human nature. People are going to abuse it. And then I think what's going to happen, Chip? What happens if Hawaii's numbers in a day or two jumps to 10 or 15 new cases? The governor's kind of put himself in a corner because he's using the numbers of, hey, we're single digit. We're single digit, so we're going to start opening up. What happens if we go double digit? What happens if we get to 20 or 30? What does he do? Shut everything back down and reset the clock? That's why I said it's just so delicate.
Yeah,
we got to do our best individually.
Yeah,
to keep this virus out of our state. Yeah. And we do that by.
I wouldn't want to be in the governor's shoes. I wouldn't want to be in Derek's shoes. I mean, those are tough decisions because they are the ones that are sitting on the balance of the knife. Is the economy going to kill us, or is the virus going to kill? And they're making those kinds of decisions that affect long term. And to your point, Mel, I got a directive from somebody in the county that told me that I had to open up all the parking spaces at the hotel that were we have to have so many public spaces, public parking
Oh,
spaces,
yeah.
right?
Right.
You know what I mean, right? So
Yeah,
I don't know, I got 15 or 20 of them, right? So when the epidemic happened, we closed off those spaces because people shouldn't be going down to the beach, and people shouldn't be hanging out at the beach either. They're supposed to be down there either surfing or exercising. But we see people coming down, but we locked off we locked off all the parking lots. It wasn't an issue. And then I get a call from the county, and the county says to me, you have to open them up. Right? I opened them up yesterday. You know what we had to do at about 6:30, 7 o'clock yesterday? We had to go down and stop the partying that was happening in the parking lot with everybody that was drinking and hanging out and not practicing social distance. And we had to get them out there. And we had to call our security guys down and run them out and lock it up again. But tonight they're open again, because I just don't think you should be opening up the parking lots if we're not supposed to be at the beach until the 30th, 31st, or whatever it is.
You validate my point. I mean, it's going to be us. So, real quick to blame.
Right.
The bottom line is, when we started, I remember Derek, he was on our show. I loved it too. He said, hey, I'm being very lenient. I'm allowing people to surf. I'm allowing people to golf. This was before he shut down golfing. But he said, you guys abuse it, I'll clip it. And that's exactly how he said it. And he did. He clipped the golf, because of people. It wasn't so much. And he was on our show. He was on our show 3 times already, I think. But the last one, he said, the problem really wasn't with the golfers on the course. It was at the parking lot activity afterwards. Like you just mentioned that and again, we are in charge of our future. That's what I'm trying to say. And we got to take this thing seriously. People were saying it from the beginning. We sacrifice for a short time so we can enjoy much quicker. Because the longer we take, the longer this regulations will be in place.
Yeah.
Well, from a psychological standpoint, I get a real hard time understanding why just a few, not all, but just a few, why they have a hard time understanding that because of their actions, it spoils everything for everybody else. I mean, this goes back in the day, when you keep time, you're in school, the teacher going to tell you, I'm going to let you guys go early, but just don't make noise when you're going down the hallway because no can disturb the other classes. And go take one banana for scream. Yeah, we're going on. Next thing you know, teacher call everybody back. Wait until the bell ring. Always
just take one.
Yeah, only gonna take one doodle boy. Just one doodle boy. Yep. One doodle boy for sport a whole bunch. I tell you.
This is our new shirt, Chip. This is our new shirts. This is the front. Don't BA. And in the back,
doodle boy.
Oh, that's great.
There's all the COVID-19 sayings, disinfectant. I mean,
this is great.
On the very bottom, thank you, Mayor Kawakami.
You got your shirt coming, Chip. You'll get one, and all our guests will be getting one too. So I'll probably, I did a challenge with Mel. We did a $200 challenge, so he met my challenge. So I'll probably put in another 2 more to get shirts for all the guests to.
Go easy, cowboy. Go easy, cowboy. This is the original Chip. This is the original shirt we had.
Oh, that's a great shirt.
Kirk Correa from Island Athletic Tees, and our viewers they've heard this every night. But Kirk Correa from Island Athletic Tees has donated these shirts. All of the shirts, all of the printing,
wow,
0 cost. So Kirk came to me and said, "Mel, I'm gonna make a shirt. You guys go sell them and donate them to a charity."
I'll put $300 now.
Stop. I said, Kirk, ain't nobody gonna buy this shirt. He said, Mel, I promise you they will. So we made the shirt. We took orders. We're almost up to $2,000 that we've raised. We've decided to give it to Hawaii Community Foundation. These shirts are only $10. The Doodle Boy shirts we supply and demand, so it's going up to 15. This is beautiful.
I tell you, I'll put in $400.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So all of our money, obviously, we don't have a table 53, but we are gonna donate what we can. We're hoping, I mean, hopefully we can hit the $5,000 mark with this
Yeah.
new shirt. I think a lot of people want to get this shirt.
Yeah.
But again, this whole program is to inform and educate and have a little bit of fun, And Charlie's a crazy guy. He's not all there. You know what I'm saying? He's a little off.
Oh, I know. Believe me, I know. He was on the police commission with me, and I've seen some of his performances at up at Kalaheo Steak and Ribs. So you can tell some mean jokes.
Yeah, he scares me sometimes. I gotta have I control his screens. I get my button. My mouse is on his mute button, ready to focus.
Well, you know what? I wanna buy one. I gotta buy a Doodoo Boy shirt for me because I need one of those. I need one of those so when I walk down to the beach to say, "Get out of here, you guys! Don't be one Doodoo Boy." I want to buy one of those shirts.
Yeah, I mean,
I should get it for all my security guys.
well, you get one as for being a guest on our show. We're gonna get you one. That's we did have an angel donor that donated $250, which was very nice. He doesn't want to be recognized, and that's so cool. But that is to cover all of our guests, shirts for all of our guests. So we're gonna get that out. So you'll get one as well.
Thank you.
But what else is going on, Chip? What else is going on at the Sheraton right now? I mean, $100 million in renovation.
Yep.
You know
I mean,
what
it's
that
like
means?
a new hotel.
Yeah, I mean, but I got debt service of $100 million. So
Yeah.
I got to pay for it. I mean, they don't just give you the money and say, "Hey, that's okay. You don't need to pay me back."
I mean,
I got a gun to my head.
Yeah, I know. But and you know what I respect about you is that you are not pressing to open up. I mean, your concern is for the small businesses.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate what you said when you said, in middle of June, middle of July, it is what it is. We're not going to open until it really doesn't make sense to open during a quarantine anyway, because in a hotel, and I was never in the management of a hotel, but let's say you're at 20% occupancy, that's got to be a loss for the hotel just based on the personnel and the staffing you got to have there to maintain a 20% occupancy hotel, right?
Yeah, I would say just, from a general sense of numbers, I don't think a hotel makes money until it gets to about 70% occupancy. Somewhere in that, 65, maybe to 70% occupancy. I mean, a hotel at 65% occupancy isn't going to have the services that a hotel at 90% occupancy is going to have. And you can scale things back. But I think once you fall below, 65, I don't care what you do, you're going to be in trouble. Just your land lease cost, your electricity, just to open the door. I know when I put the key in the door, to go into Rumfire, and I go like this, click, and I open the door, it's $7,000.
Wow.
That's break even. So I don't make a cent until I go over $7,000.
Wow. And you give away table 53 proceeds. That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know whether I don't know whether Rumfire's really ever made any money. But, I started the table 53 concept when I was in Maui, and I couldn't get it off the ground as successfully as I've been able to get it off the ground here. But, there's a lot of people to thank for that. It's not my doing, but there's a lot of people behind the scene that make things happen. Just because I'm the general manager of the hotel means nothing. I'm just one other person that works here. That's all I am. I work here just like everybody else. It's, I put my underwear on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And so
I just jump in one time,
You just and the bugger jumped back.
Charlie wears Depends. That's why Charlie wears Depends. He doesn't have to. You know, is he not? It's easier to put on a Depend, I think. I, my wife said, "How would you know?" Stop. There we go, Charlie. There he goes. He's not gonna stop now. Don't you find though, Chip? Don't you find that the people of Kauai in general are more generous people? And I'm not sure if it's because of the experiences they had with the hurricane. But look at him. Look at him.
I lived in Hana for 4 years, and that was a pretty tight knit, giving community. And I would compare Hana and Kauai to be very much alike in terms of how the people. There's a deep sense of what really the aloha spirit is. I think Maui's lost that, and it's certainly not in Honolulu.
Yeah, it kind of disappeared.
Yeah,
I know. When I was at the Kauai Beach Resort, David Sosner was our general manager there for most of my time there. A great guy, very community centered. We did a lot of things at KBR for the community that a lot of people didn't know, and I really like David. And in fact, we're gonna try to get him on the show because he now manages the Kukui Grove Center, and that mall, is struggling, and so we're just gonna try to get him on to share, like you, the experiences that he's having, trying to keep a mall afloat in these types of times. It's got to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remembered when the occupancy would drop, certain services would drop, and then of course people, the hours were cut. So 60-70%, that's a pretty significant number, for any business really to break even. That's interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, the interesting thing, Mel, is that I think to be successful today in our business, in this industry, anybody can come in with a pencil and say, I'm going to get rid of something. We're not going to do this anymore. I'm not doing it. To me, that's not success anymore. That's not a great leader. A great leader comes in and he figures out a way to get more money. How do you create more revenue? How do you drive top line? How do you make it better? How do you make it so that you are at the top of the food chain? And that's what you got to do today, because it's a global.
And all the while doing it and keeping the respect of your employees or associates.
Yeah.
That's what David was good at. David was so good at he was an employee person.
Yeah, he went around, talked to people.
Always. And he always made sure you had the tools you needed. He always made sure that everybody had what they needed to do their job. He was just a great boss. And then they replaced him with somebody from Australia who was the pencil guy.
Yeah.
And that thing took a dive. They got a new guy now. I just met him a few months ago. He seems like a really good guy. Employees like him. He's getting the job done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a delicate. It's a slippery slope. But
yeah. And we're on that slope now with this virus. That's a slippery slope with the virus.
Yep.
Well, Chip, we do this for an hour every night.
Okay.
We have what do you got to say to the people of Kauai, man? This is your time. I tell you, we're up to almost 300 people now. By the time this hits tomorrow, at this time tomorrow, we'll have about 2,000, 2,500 people that have watched this. So this is your opportunity to say whatever you want to say.
Well, stay safe. I mean, I think the big thing is, listen to the rules that are being put in front of us and abide by them. Don't be a doo-doo boy, be a good boy, and, we're all going to get through this together. There's no magic pill that we're going to take that's going to make this all go away, and tomorrow we're going to wake up and the bad dream's gone away. It's going to take all of us staying together, working together, thinking together, and doing the right thing. Always do the right thing. Don't be a doo-doo boy.
Yeah.
Charlie, better go change your Depends. You look like you're squirming in your seat.
Yeah, remember now, I get the great duct tape, so I don't need to worry.
Just roll yourself into the bathroom.
Hey, don't give away all my secrets.
Yeah, I get mine. I'm going. Hey!
No, I like to say, Chip, thank you so much, Chip. You know,
Yeah, you're
for the viewers out there, since meeting Chip, you know, my wife has known his dad and Chip a lot longer than I've known him. But when I finally got to meet Chip over at I think our first encounter was when I was over at the Waimea Cottages when she was a GM there, and since that time we've grown to be brothers. And I'd just like to say thank you so much, Chip, for giving insight on your position for a lot of the people out there that may that want to know, especially when the hotels are closed. What do you see? And for the people out there, you got to know one thing about this guy. I brought him on the police commission. He's done so much for the community, as you can tell, from the charity walk to what he does now. On the police commission, he did a lot for the officers because safety was paramount in whatever we do. So, Chip, I just like to say thank you for your mana'o that you shared with us tonight. I also like to thank you for all the caring that you put into the community. You've woven into the community just like me, and you've taken on a huge task, and you've pulled through every single time. So thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
Not a problem. And I would say to everybody, be on the lookout because we're going to do another community feed for 2,000 people. We're hopefully we'll have it put together by Monday of next week, if not before, and it'll get launched. And we're going to do it again.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
The Hotel and Lodging Association gave us $10,000 to try to put something together. So
wow. Yeah, good.
It'll be awesome, and I know you know how to throw a good party, man, and I cannot wait for this all to be over. There's gonna be a lot of parties on Kauai.
Yeah, are you guys gonna sing me to sleep now?
Oh, you're gonna like this, but before we go to that, Dion and Leon Vegas. Apparently, Leon works for you, and he wants to be able to use these shirts as their uniforms. I'm not sure what
Leon, he's in our engineering department.
Okay, he wants to use these shirts as a uniform. But no, in all seriousness, I knew your dad as well. And Chip, that old saying, a chip off the old block. But I gotta tell you, your dad is an amazing hotelier. He was one of the legends here. I mean, he goes back a long, long time. And I remember meeting him a very long time ago. But Chip, you have done this by yourself, buddy. You have been around the block and appreciate you, and I really do. I appreciate you and what you do for not just the hotel, but for the community, and looking forward to a lot more.
You know what my first job was?
Night audit.
My first job was I was the cliff diver at the Sheraton Maui. I dove off the cliff every night.
Really?
Yeah. 1972, 1973. That was my first job with Sheraton.
Charlie, you still get hope, Charlie?
Huh?
Charlie,
No,
look at that. The splash is big. No can dive. Too big.
I saw him dive. He's the only guy I know, ladies and gentlemen. He's the #1 cliff diver, Black Rock Terrace, Sheraton, Maui. He's the only guy that went dive at low tide and survived.
Well, I remember at Kauai Beach Resort, whenever they had to drain the pool, when they had to do repair work in the pool, they had to drain the pool, they would bring Charlie in, and he would just belly flop the pool and gone.
Hey, how come we speak on Charlie tonight?
So Chip, we started this out a long time ago, and the whole focus of this show was to get people to follow the rules, stay at home, social distance, don't touch your face, wash your hands. And because we knew that this was going to be a long process, and we knew that human nature people would not follow. So we tried, we brought on guests, we brought on the police chief, we brought on the mayor, we brought on Tulsi Gabbard, we brought on everybody, and no one listened. So Charlie and I came up with an idea that we would go see the chief and get deputized. We should have gone to see the commission, but went to the chief, become deputized, as COVID agents, and we would go out and arrest people that were violating. And the penalty would be to spend 24 hours straight with Charlie and I. That didn't work either. So we continued to think about it. We said, Charlie, let's just do this. We'll come on the show at the end of every show, at the end of the broadcast, and we'll get our equipment, our instruments, and we'll tell the people, you know, you guys either flatten the curve yourself, or we will flatten your ears. So, Charlie, come on, take it away.
Good night, everybody. Aloha.
Everybody, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Senator Ron Kochi is going to give us all the juicy juice from this week at the legislature. 7 o'clock. Please don't miss it. It'll be great. And then we got a whole lineup for next week. You're going to love it. So thank you, Chip. God bless you and all of your staff and employees over at the hotel. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, people. We'll see you then. God bless. Aloha.
Aloha.